relationships and friendships are one of the biggest things people fear, like dealing with the loss of so many foundational friendships. I mean, I found that so many of my friendships were built on booze. And so when the booze was gone, they crumbled. And it wasn't even, there wasn't a blowout fight or anything like that. But a friendship lost when you're super vulnerable, like especially in your new months of sobriety, is a loss that's really heavily felt. Did you go through that at all? And how did you cope?
I didn't go through a friendship loss, but definitely it was really tough to navigate some friendships changing, especially people who were like my biggest drinking buddies who we bonded over drinking. And I had a lot of guilt about it. I felt like I'm abandoning this person. I'm abandoning this aspect of our relationship. That's something that we bond over. And I really felt a lot of guilt about it. And it was something that getting sober and letting go of alcohol is a grieving process on its own to grieve alcohol. But then I felt like I'm grieving relationships. I'm grieving this part of relationships with people. So that was really challenging. I'm lucky to have not lost any friends. But it changes everything. It does. It definitely felt for a while like my whole world had turned upside down.
I know. And how do you feel now? Do you feel right side up? Do you still have the days of feeling like your world is upside down? And if you do feel confident and stable, when did you find that?
I definitely feel right side up now with it. Not to say I don't still have hard days, because I do. Of course. In terms of when I noticed, it's funny because I feel like it happens so gradually.
Yeah.
I want to say, and certain things, it's I've noticed certain changes at different times. The other kind of unique aspect, which you can relate to, I'm sure, is getting sober during the pandemic and being in lockdowns. And so Toronto was very locked down for a long time. And I didn't go out sober for the first time until I was 7 months sober. So even that, I think at the time, I felt like it made it harder because I was like, oh, we're going through this pandemic and I'm so isolated and I'm trying to get sober on top of it. But now I really appreciate the timing of it, and that to go out sober for the first time with 7 months under my belt, I think it would have been a lot more challenging to actually stick with it if I was trying to still have my social life at that time. So I really do think that the timing of it was a gift for sure.
Yeah.
I think the start of kind of having a social life again, I was lucky to be further along. But one thing that I really noticed that I was thinking about recently even was just the fact that socializing for a long time for me after I got sober felt so exhausting.
Yeah.
I remember feeling so drained anytime I had to socialize sober.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, this feels like work. It felt like I had to get myself in the right headspace to wrap my head around it. And I would come home and be like, I can't do anything for days. I'm so tired.
It's like a social hangover.
Yes, hugely. And I feel like I didn't even notice when that shifted, but somewhere between a year and a half, I was I'd done things a few days in a row, and I was just hanging out with one of my friends, and I was having so much fun, and I felt so carefree about it. And I realized I don't feel that anymore. And it was just a shift that I noticed, but it didn't even happen until after a year for sure.
Did the people that you were hanging out with change at all? From when you were kind of exhausted to when you were feeling carefree?
No, same group of people.
Oh my gosh, interesting.
Yeah. But I'm not also someone with one group of friends where we all hang out. I have close friends that I kind of have individual friendships with more so. So maybe that makes it a little bit easier if it's not a big party group.
Yeah, I think that's so normal to feel exhausted when you go and socialize.
Mm-hmm.
I did an interview with my friend who was, ironically, we were drinking pals when I first moved to LA. And I moved here in like 2013, so almost 10 years now. And we're both sober. We were both the drinkers and now we're both sober. And I had him on and he said like the craziest thing that he realized is how he's like a different kind of social person than he ever knew that he was. He was like, didn't want to stay late into the hours. He didn't want to go to parties and hang unless there was like a point to it. I think I find that too, of just feeling like there are certain times now that I'm actually super present for the whole party or the whole dinner or the whole thing. It's way more exhausting and there's a lot more energy that goes into it.
Yeah.
Not just with like trying not to drink like everybody thinks. So it's so much energy because what are you just like triggered all the time? Not even that. It's just the energy to be as present as I'm physically able to without tequila in my system.
Yeah, that was it for me as well. It wasn't necessarily, I mean, in the beginning, I'm sure it was more so of like feeling like it was making me want to drink, but it was more so just like having to be so on.
Yeah.
Like when you have a few drinks in you and you're loosened up, it's like you don't care.
Right.
But when you're just fully there and you don't have that social lubricant, like you're actually present and like it just feels like you're having to be on and be there.
Such a good way
like,
to put it. Being on. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, being on, let's move to being off, which is like shutting down and centering yourself. Is there anything that you have learned to implicate to kind of be present just with yourself, not for anybody else, like looking inward? And is that important in your sober care routine?
It is. I feel like it's funny timing for this question because I'm definitely at a point right now where I need to be better at carving that in, I think.
Yeah.
Like I've had like it's summer and things are going on and I've really been feeling in the past few days like, okay, I really need to make sure I'm carving in some downtime for myself. But I'm a big morning person. And so when I can make myself like get out of bed a few hours earlier for work and be able to like sit awake and like read, or I'll try to meditate in the morning. Definitely like having that time to myself in the morning is really key for me.
Yeah, that's good. And also I love the honesty there because look, we can't be perfect people, even if we're not drinking, even if we've tackled the sober lifestyle and we have a lot of stuff together. There is always something that we can be working on and improving on in our lives, whether that's our diet, eating healthier food, getting more exercise, going on hot girl walks, or like sitting and meditating in the morning. Yeah. And you don't have to do it all. You don't have to be perfect, because that's when I feel like it gets too overwhelming, you know?
It's so true.